Hi, welcome back to lesson 8, where we're going to finish off the top half of our design by creating the design and develop buttons. And the main lesson for today will be to create the round stitch effect. We know how to do the horizontal one, so now it's time to learn how to do the round stitch effect, which is very simple. Once we create the design button, then we can just duplicate that and move it over to the right. Okay, so we pick up from where we left off then. First of all, before we do anything, we need to do a bit of housekeeping. As you can see on the layers palette, we have a few layers that are scattered everywhere. They are named appropriately, which is important, but it would be nice just to make it a bit more tidier by grouping them together. So I'm going to group all these layers from the welcome text down to the welcome bar, holding down the shift key, clicking down there, and Control G on my keyboard, and I'm going to rename that welcome. Okay, so that should all be in there. Yep. So click the background layer, and we're going to select the ellipse tool. Okay, and then it doesn't matter what the foreground color is, or doesn't really matter, but what we do, we'll change it actually. So if you open up your color picker, the foreground color, let's change that to 50727C. Click OK. Then with shape layers selected in the options bar at the top here, we'll just click and drag, hold down shift key. Yep, it looks good to me. Got the fill turned down for some reason. Okay. Brilliant, that looks about right the size. Actually can do a bit smaller. So Control T on the keyboard, bring up the transform tool, and then hold down shift key, turn that down a bit. Alright. So the first thing we're going to do is give it some layer styles. So if we right click, blending options, bring up our layer styles, we can give it a pattern overlay. So click pattern overlay, change the blend mode to overlay, bring the opacity down to 65, open up your column pattern picker, and then choose the stripy pattern we use for our menu. Click away from that, and then bring the scale down to 50%. And you should have the same effect as our menu. That's about right. Type it in. Okay, so next up is a gradient overlay. So click gradient overlay. We're going to change the blend mode to soft light. Turn the opacity down to 30%. Open up our gradient editor by clicking here, and then we're going to create two new color stops, one here and one there. This one should be black, so we'll leave it as that, and then we want to open up this one and we want to give it a color of 808080. Okay, then this one will be B2 B2 B2. Okay, click that, and then our last one will be 4C, 4C, 4C. That's it. Okay, brilliant. Then next up will be our inner glow. Give it that subtle, bit more of a subtle effect. We're going to change the blend mode to overlay. Can bring the opacity down to 30%, about that. And change the color to white. That should be it. Actually, then we'll change the size. We'll bring that down to 2. All 3. We'll do it 3. And last but not least, the drop shadow. Leave it multiplied black, but bring down the opacity to about 35%. Change that to the distance, and we'll leave that as 5. Click OK, and all we need to do now is add our round stitch and our text. So with the stitch, what we can do is to create a new layer, and we're going to use the horizontal type tool that we did before in our horizontal menu, but we're going to use the path. So okay, with that layer selected, shape layer, we're going to choose ellipse tool again. Going to make sure that shape layers is selected, and then we're going to change the foreground to white just so we know where it is. And then if we just enlarge that slightly so we can see what we're doing. Okay, holding down the shift key, just click and drag, use your space bar just to shift it around, because what we want to do is where the path is, the outside of the path, not the inside, is where our stitching is going to go. So we want it to be spot on. So what we want to do is turn the fill down, and you can see our path. Okay, so when we choose the horizontal type tool, if we quickly just set this up, change the font to Arial. Change the font to Arial, keep it as normal or regular, and the size will be 11. And actually, if we open up our character palette, go to Window, Character, we need to change the tracking. If we change that to 240, should do 240. Let's do 200 to see what it comes up with. We can always adjust that later on. And of course, we want the text to be white. So we're going to add a few styles to this, so it doesn't really matter. Now you can see our cursor, our horizontal text type tool cursor. When you hover over the path, you see it's changed. See that change? As soon as it's changed, click there. Then using your minus key, add in your text, and it'll go all around the path. Simple as. Okay, brilliant. And then OK that at the top there. And then what we want to do is to make that a bit smaller. We can use the same layer styles as we did for our navigation. So if we open up our navigation group, locate our stitches, which is in our group called stitches, and then right click on the FX icon, go down to copy layer styles, close that off, and then on here right click at the back of the layer there, and then paste in layer styles. Okay, and then all we want to do, if you want to, you don't have to, is to turn down the opacity very slightly. Probably need to come up a bit more. And there you have it. Now I've gone a little bit further away from what I did there, and the text is probably slightly smaller in the final design. Again, it doesn't matter, but how you can increase that is pretty simple enough. You can just, with that text layer selected, Control T on your keyboard, holding down the Shift key, just bring that out slightly, OK that. Then it's just a case of using the Move tool and shifting that around till you get it spot on. Okay, so what's next is to add the text. Okay, so that's simple enough. We just click away from that because we're going to change the style of the font for now quickly, and we don't want to mess up our stitches. So if we go to the horizontal type tool, make sure the foreground is set to white, and then we're going to change it to lobster. Down to lobster. Set it to, I don't know, about 30 pixels, and just click away from the button. Don't click in it because you'll hit the path again. So if you click away from it and then type in your, okay, let's change my font. Okay, just type in what you want to type in, design, and then open up your character set, and we'll just change that again to lobster, and we can just drag that up till we got it to where we want it to be. Make sure the tracking's set to 0, and okay, I think it's probably a bit too big, but let's just grab it. Okay, so you need to go into our layers palette, double click that, change the D to a capital D, and I think we probably need to bring that down slightly. Yep, so if you bring the font size down to about 30, a bit smaller than that. Move tool selected, shift it around. Looks like I've got the italic on as well. Then just give it a drop shadow. Do it 2 and 2, and bring the opacity down slightly. And there you have your design button. Then all we need to do now is to make sure you've got that lined up, so you can click that and then drag that underneath there. Make sure then to selected. Then we can center that by using our align tools and the options bar. Okay, so align vertical centers and align horizontal centers. Okay, so that's nice and aligned, and all we need to do then is to grab all of that, group them together, Control G, call this design button or badge, call it badge because it's more of a badge. Then with the move tool selected, the shift and alt key down, we can just make a duplicate copy of that, and then open up our group, change that to develop. Excellent. And then make sure they're both aligned. Click horizontal or align at vertical centers, so to say, and that's it. That should be it. If you bring back your guides, also you're going to need to shift them both over. So with the move tool selected, use our arrows, can make sure they're both within the 960 grid system. You see our welcome isn't our welcome text, so we need to shift that. Actually open up our group, shift our text and our brush over. Okay, so I'm going to rename this develop badge so we can see where we are, and that should be it. Okay, so the next lesson we'll hit our slider. Once we get our slider done, then we'll do our services section, and then we're almost there. So hope you enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next lesson.